Hello? 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 Hello, hello, hello. Test, test, test. Hello? Hello, test. Test, test. Test. Hello? Hello, hello? Hello, hello, hello. Ah, there we go. Steve, is that you?
I'm such a noob with Hangouts.
That's okay. You came at the perfect time. I just got my sound working.
Oh, good. That's good. I haven't got my hair working. It's very wet here today. I walked outside and things go crazy when it gets rained on. No.
So there's like an 8-second delay. That's how it usually goes once it hits the web page. But I'm watching on my iPad. This is very meta for anybody that's
me in my hair. That's cool. Oh God, it's not right. Okay, that'll do. That's enough. Enough hair stuff. I was convinced that I would have too much time this morning. I was like, I feel really well prepared. I think I'm actually, usually when I go in to do webinars, I'm like last minute frantic. And I'm like, you know what? I got this down today. And then I sat down, I was like, ooh, there's more to do than I realized. Rush. Come on. We got there.
That's how it always feels for me every single time. Every time.
Yep.
Let me just double check the screen share
yes.
on here so I can webinar. There we go. So do you see that now? Can you?
Yes. That looks good. I can see that.
Okay, now let me present to everybody. Okay, there we go. Now everybody can see it. Okay. Can you still hear me?
I can.
Okay, cool. So yeah, it doesn't allow me to play it for some reason. Like it's never going to go completely full screen.
Oh, yeah. That's cool.
But yeah, it's still big enough for them to see.
Yeah. Because it probably takes up your whole screen when it does that. Hey.
Yeah, exactly.
It's frustrating when that happens. Oh, chestnut.
So do you want to just stay online since we have it working, or do you want me to call you back when it's 7 or 11 your time?
I'm easy. I'm just decompressing from that rush. You know, those moments where you're like, I'm just not going to get this done. And then you do. So I'm good. I'm good either way. Either way, I'm just gonna sit here and just, no, I don't
Well, we
mind.
could just, if I leave this up, all
We
they're
could,
seeing are the slides. We can just mute ourselves and just.
yeah, that's true. Is just so I know, is this the one that's gonna go live, or do I have to join a different call?
No, this is it. This is what. So
This is it.
if you go to the Hangout page, you'll
Yep.
see like there's an 8-second delay, but you can hear us now. That's on there.
Ah, hello, people. Hello, anybody that's there.
I don't think anyone's accessed it yet. But then when I do for the replays, then I just like they'll be able to just start it when we actually start.
Gotcha. I'm with you.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, why don't we just mute ourselves and then we'll.
Yeah, I'll come back at the time.
Yeah, and then I'll take the slides off so they can see us and do a little intro.
All right, sounds good.
Cool.
Stuff. Excited.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, I'm gonna chat with you on Skype real fast. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello. I don't know why I always say hello twice. It's just something I do.
I think I say hello twice too.
So,
Oh no, I can hear myself bouncing back.
oh man, there it is.
Oh man. That's good. I think. Yes.
Cool. So yeah, up and now they're seeing us. There we go. Hello, Michelle from Las Vegas. And we got Steve from Virginia. Steve from Australia.
Two Steves here. It's always good to see another Steve. Hello, Steve. Hello, Michelle. Great to see you guys.
Let me close these doors. Pepper is licking the kitchen floor again. So, all right. So what's up, everyone? We'll give people a chance to sign on. A few minutes. Oh, and there's Pepper's grand entrance. Okay, cool.
It's lovely to see some folks here. Jimmy boy. Hello, James.
Yeah.
It's funny calling you James. Good to see you. Good to see some folks here. Who else is popping in? Feel free to sign into that little chat box and say hello. Should be a bit of fun.
Yeah, and if you guys want to pop out the chat box, so you don't have to scroll between the video and the chat box, there should be like a little pop-up window icon, so you can just move that anywhere on your screen that you'd like. This is my little makeshift make your own webinar page. All right.
Homemade.
Homemade, yeah. It's special like that.
Funny story for anybody. I assume as a few people here who were at the Music Launch Summit, but a lot of people probably missed the golden moment where Rick Getz got right to the end of a very challenging call, and he said, "Stay classy, pony boy," and then signed off. And I was like, "What does this mean? What does that mean?"
Well,
but thanks.
I know it from a book we all had to read in high school called The Outsiders. And
Right.
It's a movie that stars Rob Lowe.
Okay, I don't know this.
So it's about like it was from the 80s. It's about like a bunch of like rebel boys that kind of like go off to live on their own, and one of them is called Pony Boy. At least that's what I assume he's referencing.
That's fantastic. Now I'm gonna have to go and watch this movie. We all are. So everybody, no need to be here with this workshop. Let's go and check out the movie. No, not really. Hey, Kevin, great to see you. Welcome from Trinidad. That's amazing. What time is it in Trinidad? I genuinely wouldn't know.
That's awesome. Yeah, and yeah, everyone go watch The Outsiders. It's a grainy 80s movie, but you get to see Rob Lowe, and that's never a bad thing for anybody. So at least not for me. So everybody go enjoy that. But first, we're here tonight. It's a little after 7 Eastern time. I guess that's 11 a.m. Tuesday, Australian time, correct?
That's it.
Yeah, I'm now living on Australian time. So I woke up like 3 hours ago. So we're going to jump in. You'll see in a second our little, oh, it's 8 p.m. in Trinidad. Interesting.
Oh, that's pretty reasonable.
Huh. Very cool. All right. So I'm going to share with everybody our slides. In about 8 seconds, they'll see it on their screen. And yeah, we will jump in here. Let me present it to everybody. Cool. All right, guys. So welcome to Launch with Authority, the 8 pre-launch steps musicians often miss. And when Steve and I put this together, it's not just musicians. So if you're watching and you're a manager or you're a consultant or a blogger or anything like that, this will still relate to you. So you're in the right place. And I'm going to go ahead and jump in here. So why are you here? Well, only you know that, but if we were to take a stab at it, we would assume that you're here because you want to stop feeling overwhelmed by the thought of launching new projects. I know that that's definitely a pain point for a lot of people. And you're ready to really look at your career as a business. Okay, so you're ready to be a musicpreneur and treat it as a business and grow it like one. So no more hobbies, no more just, oh, I put out a song, you know, because I did it. There's actual strategy, which we'll get into, to growing your business. And you might have launched things in the past, but you're looking for a more effective way to do them because you've done it and you've pulled too many all-nighters to count and you're exhausted and you didn't see enough growth in your audience. So if you're here to get answers for that, awesome. In about an hour or so, at the end of this webinar, we want you to be motivated to tackle your next launch head on, be confident in making the decisions necessary to take it from a hobby to a lifestyle, and get clear on the steps you'll need to knock out your next launch right out of the park. All right, so that's why we are here today. What up, Chrysanthi? Welcome. All right, so a little bit of housekeeping. Anybody that's been on a webinar of mine before knows the deal that you should have gotten a workbook. If you didn't get a link to a workbook, just look right above the video here. There's a link to download a workbook. If you're somebody that likes to take notes and find it easier to follow along that way, we've got a fillable PDF for you. If you need to leave early, yes, there is a replay, but stay with us because we're pretty awesome. So stick around and type questions in the chat box with question in caps in the before you type your question. That way, in case we miss something and we're kind of scrolling through the chat box, we can easily spot it. Okay. And like many of you have done, if you're here with us, tell us hi and tell us where you're from. So we've got Earl, welcome, from Virginia. Awesome. So we got a couple people from Virginia. We got Steve from Virginia. Awesome. So if you're ready to launch with authority, we're going to show you how to get there while building an engaged, supportive community, which I'm sure is a community. If you're in Steve's Music Launch Hub, that's how you found us, right? That's how you know us. And do it without the burnout and overwhelm. And stay tuned because at the end, we've got a really awesome announcement that we're very excited about. So stay for the info, you know, be here for the info, stick around for the awesomeness. And so just to introduce you in case you're not familiar with me, my name is Suze. I'm a mindset coach for music industry professionals. My company is the Rockstar Advocate. I started out at the major labels, Atlantic with WIA and Astroworks, which is under EMI. I was the founder of Mad Dragon Records, one of the founders at Drexel University when I went there. And then I went back for my master's in psychology, and that's how the Rockstar Advocate came to be. I've spoken at many conferences all around the U.S., most recently the CD Baby Do-It-Yourself Musician Conference. I also write for Huffington Post, Sonic Bids, Soundfly, TuneCore, Reverb Nation, and CD Baby. And I recently just released my next edition, the 2018 Rockstar Life Planner. It's a weekly planner for creatives. So I'm going to hand it off to Steve now so he can tell us a bit about himself.
Hello, it's good to see some familiar faces here, and I can definitely vouch for Suze keeping people sane in the process through a launch. Definitely kept me sane as we've been piecing this workshop together for you guys. So I'm Steve. If you don't know me, I'm a digital brand strategist from Melbourne, Australia. Similar in that I also spend my days working with music professionals, music artists, and also next-gen industry people. And I founded the Music Launch Hub to create a community where we could all be working together on our careers. Off the back of that, I also launched the Music Launch Summit, which was at the time the largest virtual music conference that's ever happened. I think it maybe still is, which is a silly thing to do. We'll probably talk about that maybe at some point. Talk about burnout. Don't go and host a big virtual music conference. Anyway, so why I'm here is I've worn most hats in the music industry. And as a self-managed musician, and also managing other bands and working on festivals. I've actually been busy building businesses and careers in a number of different ways. So I get the different angles that you come from. I understand what it's like to be a publicist, trying to get your first connections, and I understand what it's like being an artist trying to get your first pub show. But I also know what it's like when you've been an artist, a national icon artist, absolutely crushing it for your entire career, and then trying to get the last 10 years out of your career. So I have all kinds of perspective there, and that's, I guess, why I'm here. 5 years ago, I started delivering digital brand strategy to music artists. And the reason being is I wanted to be making sure that people are future-proofing themselves and setting themselves up for the long run in this transition that we're in. Last little bit about me, I'm definitely a certified app junkie. I literally can't stop buying marketing and branding apps in the digital space. I'm obsessed with them, whether it's a productivity app or an email app. I can't stop. It's a real problem. So if anybody has any ideas how to stop that, that would be handy. But it does mean I have a lot of insight into helping you find out your marketing tech tools too.
That's awesome. And for anybody here who was at the Music Launch Summit, I pray that you bought the lifetime access to it, because I'm still like learning so much from it. So I hope that you guys took advantage of that, because it was something that you did not want to miss. Okay, so like Steve has said too, we've been there. We've done the endless all-nighters, the releases that fell on deaf ears, feeling like a fraud. Anybody here ever feel that way? I feel that way like every third day. And the crippling self-doubt and indecision when you're trying to build something. We're all here as entrepreneurs, guys. If you're a musician, you're an entrepreneur. And so you have to create the content, promote the content, engage with the content. I mean, you're doing all of it. And so there's so many decisions to make on a daily basis. You can get completely overwhelmed, fear of not being able to keep up, and feeling alone in that journey. So that always brings us to that overwhelm and getting nowhere fast. I'm sure who here has felt like, oh my God, I've done so much, and then you can't remember what any of those things were? Yeah, because it's overwhelm and it's busy rather than being productive. So what happens is we fall into perfection paralysis, panic, right? We never start and we can't seem to move, yet we're just sitting there panicking and just like having nightmares about all the things we have yet to do, but we still don't do anything about it. Also, we're convinced that it's do it yourself is do it alone. Okay. And we get way in over our heads, as Steve had alluded to with the Music Launch Summit. I myself did an in-person summit, the Musicpreneur Mindset Summit in Delaware a few months ago. And I did the same thing. Even though I teach people not to do it, you get in over your head thinking, I can do this by myself. And it's overwhelming. And then we tend to throw money at the quick fixes without any purpose, right? If anybody here has ever read Think and Grow Rich, one of the biggest things that they say is that successful people make quick decisions, but they tweak them slowly. So rather than just hitting an obstacle and being like, somebody fix this for me, you walk with purpose, you make decisions with purpose, and then you tweak as needed. And we'll get into that as we go forward. So tonight's goal is that we want you all to feel confident that you can launch anything with the right preparation and tools. Nothing's too big or too small for you to launch and grow your community. It doesn't have to be scary. And in fact, you'll learn tonight that it can be the biggest asset for growing your fan base, is launching your content the right way. So we'll go over the 8 foundations you need before launching anything, the tools you'll need to maintain that momentum in future launches, and the #1 thing most people miss when preparing for a launch. Hint, that will be at the end. So what we'll go, that's what we'll go over tonight. So the 8 foundations. If you guys want to turn to page 1 in your workbook, if you've got the workbook in front of you, these are the 8 steps. Feel free to take a screenshot of the screen as well if you'd like for your notes. #1 is find clarity in your message. Then we'll go to marketing around that message, figuring out what your ask is and how to ask it. Manage your attention bank. This is one of my favorite ones. I can't wait for Steve to get into that one. Prioritizing your focus, creating purposeful launching, maintaining a healthy mindset while you do it, and saying goodbye to excuses. So yeah, we've pretty much already given you all the answers, but we're about to dig in deep. So find clarity in your message. Step 1. So the most common missteps in messaging that I see a lot of musicians get into is that there's no clear purpose. They just say, oh, I have new music, but why? Why are you a musician? What's your purpose? What are you saying that's new or different compared to what's already out there? And the biggest one is that they fail to relate to their intended audience. So they keep it me-centric rather than we-centric. So there's no, relating to, oh, here's what we have in common and here's the music I create. And, now you'll, hear something that we can relate to on a deeper level. They just stay right to the songs and right to the videos, and they don't create that connection. What it usually boils down to is stating authentically who you are, what you stand for, and the community or the future that you wish to build. So if you come out and announce who you are and why you're a musician and what you hope to accomplish, or why you're a manager and what change you want to see in the industry, or what you want to contribute, that will help the right people find you, and it will attract the right people to you. So the most important piece of your message is connecting to the beliefs and emotions of your core fan base. And I'll let Steve take it from here.
So the piece, like, I just want to add one super quick thing. Like, the thing that we often miss there that ties into this next piece is it takes time to, and so if any of that if it felt too simple, probably haven't dug in enough. And if it doesn't feel simple, then you probably haven't dug in enough. And I say that because it takes time to figure out your why. And that time that we spend helps us to then market around our message. And this is the change that I want to talk about today in our mindset. Is so the reasons why this is confusing for people is assuming your marketing and your music are separate. I think this is a massive one. I see a lot of the time with my clients, and just in the community, we think we have to go and do all kinds of things to get our music out into the world, when really we're already doing stuff that is fascinating to people. We just haven't figured out how to put it out there yet. And so once you get clear on your message, like Susan's talked about there, you need to then start working out, well, what are the talking points that I can get out? I often find that thinking you have to learn a whole new skill set is a real problem. And that's mainly because you really just have to tack on the ability to talk, to storytell. If you can start doing that, then you're basically doing most of what you need. Because if you've done all the work on figuring out your why, you have most of what you need to be able to get out into the world and start actually doing the marketing. And the final piece, the final misstep, is following so much advice you forget to listen to you. This is a really tricky one. I know personally I fall into this a lot. Sometimes you spend so much time, and the irony is not lost on us. You're here listening to advice. But seriously, right now there are literally so many courses and resources on how to market yourself out there. And when you start listening to 8 people at once, it's not that their advice is bad, it's that they start being multi-focused. And so if you're not listening to you and marketing around your message, and you're going and doing tactics, you're going to fail. The things that they're doing that are working for them won't work for you. I find that happens so often. What this usually boils down to is, once you're clear on your message, you should be using that to dictate your marketing strategy. So everything you figure out in your why, everything you figure out around that actually gives you the answers. And you need to learn to be out looking for what that is. You need to put in the work there to learn what that is, so that you can actually start getting out and not having to be overthinking everything you're doing. And so that it starts being second nature, going, this is what I'm talking about today. And the most important piece of your marketing, we need to stop blindly following tactics, and we need to craft a plan that uses our strengths to grow one thing first. And so, like I'm sort of getting at just a moment ago, there are so many great opportunities now. And going back to the start of this, there's a really interesting thing that I just thought of straight away when Sue's mentioned, like, you throwing money to try and fix a problem. That who here, in fact, put your hand up, tell us admit it now in the comments. If you've ever gone and spent any amount of money on a Facebook ad because you didn't get enough reach and you felt bad about it, seriously, let's own up. Have you ever spent Facebook money going, I need to boost this post, I need to get it in front of people because I feel bad because I haven't got the results I wanted? Right there is the exact example of why tactics will cost you time and money. And if you don't have a plan, the plan almost should save you from doing things half the time. So we need to stop blindly following tactics. That's just one of a billion tactics that can work if it's in a great strategy. We need to be growing one thing first.
I forgot I muted myself. Yeah. So couldn't agree more with that. And I love that. And I'm seeing, yeah, Chrysanthi definitely, she's owning up to it. I've definitely done it. Come on, guys. I know there's, yep, James. Yeah. An emotional $21. And it's so true. It does. These things do ride on our emotions, which, James, I'm so glad you said that, because this is a big part of what this webinar is and what sets it apart from other presentations. When we're not grounded and super clear, our emotions, because there's such a roller coaster in this whole journey, can start taking over and making our decisions for us, rather than what Steve was saying, when you let your message make your decisions for you. So totally been there. Very, very happy that you you put it that way, because I totally relate. So when you know, Steve brought up a good point about, you know, not listening to other people and letting your message, listen to yourself and letting that guide you. And the other piece of that is that when you are ready to ask for help and you've taken every thing that you want. Oh, did I just go out? Can you still hear me?
No, you're there. You're good.
Oh, okay. This video went out on me. All right. Sorry, guys. So can you guys still hear me? Because it's not coming through. Everything just stopped. All right. I'm just going to keep going here. All right. So if you never ask for something, if you never ask for help, if you never ask anything of your fans and your fan base, the answer will always be no. So you can't be afraid to ask. That's the biggest thing. No matter whether you think it's too big or, oh, there's the sound. Whether you think it's too big of an ask, or whether you think, oh, what will this person say? What if they say no? If they say no, awesome. That's a response. You can work with that. You can do something with that. You can ask them for feedback. What do I need to get a yes? Or, you know, what can you help me with? You can change your ask, but do it. If you're sitting there just saying, well, I feel weird asking this person, or I'm not sure, I don't know, like if they really wanted to support me, they would just do it. But we won't. You know, everybody has a lot on their plate and they respond when spoken to. So always be sure to ask. If you get a no, then that's still an answer, and that will still guide you to your next step. So never be afraid to ask. The common missteps in asking, though, when people do finally say, okay, I'm going to go do it, is they make it all about what they want. And they combine it with multiple requests. So if I were asking Steve for help, or let's say I wanted Steve to share something that I was doing, instead of, you know, doing it the correct way, I might say, like, Steve, hey, haven't talked to you in like 4 months, but here's what I'm doing. And can you just go share this with everybody on your list? Thanks, Sue. Right? So there's no actual communication there. There's no telling him what would be good for him, what's in it for him for sharing what I'm asking him to share. There's nothing in there besides my request. The combining it with multiple requests would be, can you share this? And oh, by the way, and just review this while you're at it and let me know your thoughts on this thing. And yeah, if you could just like hop on a call to talk about it. And like putting so many requests in one ask is just very overwhelming. And then people don't know what next step you want them to take. And sometimes on the other side of the spectrum, you fail to include a clear CTA, which is a call to action. So if you'd be like, oh, it'd be really helpful if you could share this, but what's the call to action? Post this in your Facebook page, share this on Twitter, hit reply and let me know what you think. Like, what is the call to action? Download my song, whatever it is that you're asking, be sure to tell them exactly what you want them to do. So like I said, there's something much more worse than getting a no, is getting no response at all. So when you do ask, and I'm sure how many people here, I know people have pitched something to somebody or sent out, a press release for a blog review and never hear back, or ask people to download their songs in their newsletter and nobody downloads them. So if you're not getting any response at all, then you've got to retool the way you're asking it. And you've got to look at what you're doing that could be a little bit better and more engaging. Because the goal of your ask should always be to get an answer no matter what. Doesn't matter if it's a no, doesn't matter if it's a yes. Obviously, the yes is more of what you want. But at least if you get a no, you can do something with that information. So always keep that in mind, that number one, you want to ask, right? Don't sit in silence. Ask for help, ask for support, ask for feedback from your fans, but do it in a way that's engaging, that includes them, and that tells them exactly what you want them to do. Which brings us lovely to the next section where Steve's going to teach us about all of this attention.
I'm excited for this piece, and I'll oh, goodbye slides.
Sorry.
Just a bit. Just a quick transition, because I can't help commenting, but I just hearing this stuff, and I hope you guys are feeling the same. Just hearing Suze talk about some of this stuff that I know, but even just then I'm getting reminded of things. How often am I actually committing to that and remembering it at the times when I really need it? And I think that's just something I think we should be considering here, because a lot of what we are talking about today is stuff at a surface level we might understand, but how much is it deeply ingrained in the way that we're actually doing things? And that is a very different thing. So even for me, I'm finding things to remember to make sure that I'm implementing more regularly. Let's move on to the attention bank. I'm really excited about this one because I think this little mindset change can change two very big things. First up, let's look at the missteps. We need to know that thinking it's not a bad thing to ask for sales. I think this is one of the hardest things in actually just being an artist, is going, when do I actually ask for people to support me, and how do I do it in a way that doesn't make me feel like an idiot, or worse, a sleazy, scammy, poor begging artist? We need to change our mindset on this 100%. Number two, if we're asking at the wrong times and in the wrong places and then in the wrong ways, even if we do have the best intentions, that's the stuff that feeds this bad mindset, because we don't get the responses we want and we start to go, what's wrong with me? And then we start to internalize this and we go, did I do things the wrong way? Did I ask the wrong way? Was I too pushy? And we start to get, the mind starts traveling way faster than what the brain does. And that's when you start losing the clarity and your strategy goes off the table. Number three, forgetting that we're asking humans and not wallets. I think a lot of the time we feel like in order to not feel sleazy and scammy and salesy, we sort of go, do you want to buy my thing? And we do this weird, like, half-hearted thing, which is like, hey, I want you to buy. We basically, in our way of saying, hey, I know you don't have a lot of money, because that's how I feel about money. In this kind of weird thing I'm doing here, where I'm going, hey, you can't blame me for being a little bit coy about this, but I'm also now saying to you that I don't believe that you should give me this money. And I'm also saying that I kind of just want you to take stuff out of I'm just here for the wallet. We start accidentally saying that, whether you're doing it through your body language or just in the way that you're doing it. Hey, we've got some merch up the back of the room. If you'd feel like maybe buying a CD, starts coming out, and everybody goes, I don't feel great about that, because now you're asking for my money. There is an absolutely massive difference when we start going, you're a human and I'm an artist. I exist to bring an experience to your world, and I want to make that experience richer. Would you like to come along for the ride? When we start embodying everything that we're doing and actually making the ask with the human in mind, everything starts to change. Now, what this boils down to, it's actually before, this isn't even just about asking for money. This is about a lot more than that. Even before a sales strategy is in place, if we're not putting the fans first on a micro level and turning that into a macro plan, that's where we get stuck. So what we need to understand first on a micro level, so we need to be speaking to the individual fan. And it doesn't matter if we're doing that, if we're doing that while we're on stage talking to one person that we think is in the crowd, or we're doing it in an email we're writing or an Instagram post. We need to be knowing and understanding what the hearts and minds of the individual fans are, and having those. Sometimes we have direct conversations, and sometimes we have larger conversations, but we need to be talking at an individual level. And then what we do when we turn that into a macro plan is we start broadcasting to many. So we start scaling a micro message. Now, the important piece of the puzzle, and this is where the attention currency comes into play, which you'll get more of an idea of later. The most important piece of this currency, the scarcest resource in the world, are finite. Now, we think the scarcest resource as musicians, because we have to spend so much money building our careers, we think our worldview of the scarcest resource is money a lot of the time. You know, yes, we're all time poor. Yes, we have a lot of stuff going on, but we think money is absolutely the most finite thing. But your fans probably almost definitely have more disposable income than they do time. And I say that being the kid coming from the welfare upbringing, I 100% can say without a doubt that time, no matter how much money you have, is more finite than money. And so what we need to understand is that rather than going out and feeling bad about asking for people's money, we should feel almost worse about asking for people's time. But we need to once again flip that on its head and know that the number one thing before we go out there and starting to ask for support and ask for sales is we need to understand the attention currency is our number one thing to be building up. And we don't go and take time from people. We give amazing experiences built off your why, built off your marketing message, which is built on your why. We go and understand the value we're putting in the world, and we think about how to go and ask for that. And then we know what our offer is. And then we go out there and we make sure that we are giving so much value to the attention of our people, our fans, on a micro and a macro level before we even start going and asking for money. And that is the key right there.
Excuse me while I pick up the pieces of my brain off the floor. Yeah, you guys, if you take one thing away, because that's my favorite piece of this entire night. It's still going to go up from here, don't get me wrong, but this is my favorite section of it because it really is such a shift when you think about the fact that, like, we're sitting here being, oh, they don't have enough money. Like Steve said, it doesn't matter how rich or poor you are, we all have a finite amount of time. And that's huge, guys. Like, that really is, the thing to be focusing on, and everything else will come from that. So if you're just joining us a little bit late, just to, recap, we're now up to step 5. So we started with your message, turning your message into your marketing. We've gone over the importance of asking for what we want, and then understanding that what we're truly asking for is people's attention, not necessarily their money. So when we're asking for people's time, this transitions well into our time. How do we prioritize our focus? Who here, let us know in the chat box if you've got multiple passions, right? Maybe you're a performer, but you're also a writer, or you like to paint, or you've got crafts that you sell on Etsy, or you've got multiple things, right, that you're really passionate about and you've got no time for any of them. Maybe you've got a full-time job still and you're trying to pursue your music or your own career, and it's like, where do I find the time? So this is a big important piece to the puzzle, is learning how to prioritize, because if we can figure out how to prioritize our time and where to put our energy, then we'll realize that majority of the stuff on our list is garbage. So a lot of missteps in time management is that we fall into the shiny object syndrome, right? It's like somebody like rings a bell over here AKA we hear a notification on our phones and we're like, oh, what was that? Or, oh, we see, you know, an ad pop up on Facebook and then we fall into that rabbit hole. Or we go to post a video on YouTube, but what ends up happening is we fall into, you know, a cat video montage that lasts like 3 hours. And we're like, wait, how did that happen? Or, you know, somebody else tells us, as Steve had said in the beginning here tonight, I've got the answers here. No, I've got the answers over here. Well, you know, you want to do that, but don't forget this. And there's all these different focuses rather than just saying, like we said in the beginning of tonight, does this serve my purpose? Is this part of my message? Do I already have enough knowledge that I need to move forward? So getting rid of that sense of false urgency, feeling that everything is urgent. And I teach a lot of time blocking. And in time blocking, the whole purpose of that is to decrease the feeling of urgency. And when we get rid of that urgency and we make time for our priorities, we realize that a lot of the other stuff is just shiny objects. That's really all what it comes down to. It's just distractions. And I'm always telling artists, somebody can come to you with a wonderful opportunity, but you have to ask yourself, is it a wonderful opportunity for me for right now? And if it's not, it's totally okay to say no. It's probably more beneficial for you to say no if it doesn't fit where you're going right now. So this kind of falls into what most people do wrong, is poorly identifying priorities. They hear of a great opportunity and they completely abandon everything else they just spent their blood, sweat, and tears working on because they get distracted when that great opportunity really wasn't for them. It didn't really serve their overall message or purpose, and in the end, it didn't get them anywhere. So like I said, shiny object syndrome. I love this little meme here. I was going to take over the world, but then I saw something shiny. And that's exactly what tends to happen to us. We fall into all these little distractions that are there. And we live in a world where there are apps and resources out there to help silence those notifications and silence those distractions. And so we just need to take better advantage of it. So when we want to get rid of false urgency, we want to get rid of, like I said, every distraction feeling like it needs our immediate attention. As I said earlier tonight, you know, I was so busy, but then you can't remember anything you've done. Yeah, that's because you have fallen into false urgency. It drains our energy without adding to productivity. So mental spring cleaning, you guys can all do this on your own here tonight. Here's like an immediate actionable you can walk away with tonight, is much like the keep, toss, give away. I don't know if we have any Sex and the City fans out there, but I always think back to that movie where Carrie moves out of her apartment and they get the boxes together and they have throw away, give away, and put away. So that's kind of like how we mental spring clean for ourselves and figure out our priorities. So ask yourself 2 important questions. You can do this with anything. Number 1, like I said, does this serve my goal? If yes, keep and figure out where to prioritize it. If no, take it off your list. Second question, if it does serve me, can somebody else do it for me? If yes, delegate and work out a plan with that person. And that's an important piece of the puzzle that a lot of people forget. When you delegate something, come up with a plan. Like, tell them what your expectations are. Tell them when you'd like it by. Tell them what you expect it to look like when they're done with it. Because if you just kind of hand it off to somebody, you can really be causing a lot more headaches for yourself. So plan with that person. And if it can't be delegated to somebody else, then keep it and then prioritize it. So the most important piece of focusing is to know why this is your focus, right? Going back to step 1, what's your message? What's your why? Going back to your why, and then figuring out how this thing, item on your list, project, opportunity, whatever it is, how does it serve your end goal? All right, this stuff is really important because people look at their list and they say, oh my God, I'm never going to fit all of this in. Yeah, you probably won't, but a lot of stuff on your list is garbage. So doing this exercise, I call it like my little Cosmo quiz. It's like in those magazines where like, if this, then that. So doing that little 2-step questionnaire can really make a huge difference in getting rid of just garbage on your list.
Oh boy, did I just remember to I need to go and do that. I've actually I've even got a note on my to-do list saying, Steve, fix up your list. After this, I promise I'll take your advice, Suze, and actually go do it. So, I mean, this is just once again more reminders about the things that are in front of our eyes, but that we're often not taking on board. So let's talk about creating purposeful launching. There's something that I can't stop being ingrained in everything that I'm doing. And hopefully Suze will move the slides forward. And so
Really
let's look at the most.
I'm failing at life right now.
But before this workshop, I was like, I'm basically Ron Burgundy. Put something in front of me and I'll talk, but make it stop and I'll stop. So most common missteps in launching. Now we're on to my actual favorite topic. Number one, if assuming a release is the same as a launch, putting your work out into the world is not a launch. A launch is something that builds up. A launch is essentially, in my view, a series of steps that build up momentum and leverage on top of each other. And at the start, we have it's very similar. I see an attention bank growing just like an investment account might grow. You get compound interest on your audience's attention, but you also get compound interest on your launches. And so one of the things that's going on here is we assume that if we put our work into the world, it's going to do what it needs to do. And that's just sadly not the case. I wish it was. I'm a creator as well. I wish I could just put stuff out and everybody would gravitate towards it and everybody be happy and awesome and things are just growing naturally. It doesn't always work like that. We need to know that we need to have a plan with a series of actions that are all working towards a common goal. And then we need to do that in order to make launch number 2 and launch number 3 and launch number 4. Now, misstep number 2, trying to copy what the labels do and doing it by yourself, fall into this one a lot. What we can't do as independent artists is know, once again, our own time is finite, just like our audience's time is finite. What we can't do is the job of 5, 8, 10 people and do it ourselves. We need to be much more precise in where we're spending our time, because if you spend your time scattered, then you're unlikely to get the sorts of results that you're looking for. But if you do it super focused, and this is where tactics can work, if you're super focused on one tactic and it has a great strategy behind it, then you absolutely can make that do more, a hell of a lot more than if you have a bunch of tactics scattered. So do not go and do what you see all the other bands that are a step ahead of you doing. Maybe go and take some lessons from their content strategy, but absolutely don't do what their launch strategy is by yourself. Number 3, seeing the next launch on a micro level. Once again, there's this micro and macro thinking that is very important and totally changes our mindsets and how we go and do things. If we see our launch on a micro level, we look at the launch as the be-all, end-all. And it's easy to do when you've spent so much time creating something. You go and say, I need this to do more. And we almost fall into this thing that's like, there's the fallacy. I don't know if you guys have heard the fallacy of sunk cost, when you go and you invest way too much money in something and you just want it to work, even though it's never going to work. Sometimes you're better off just cashing out, losing that investment. A great example, it would be a software, like if you went and bought an expensive website builder and you built this enormous website, and then you went, this doesn't actually doing anything for me, and you keep paying for it. That's the fallacy of sunk cost. But we also have the fallacy of sunk time, going, I've spent so much time on my website, I just need to keep going because it'll work at one point. But chances are, if you've got a website and it's not selling anything for you, it probably never is. This happens with launches. It happens with literally everything we do. We go and spend so much time creating our music and we go, I need this to achieve X amount because of how much love and time and care I put into it, thinking that you'll never go and be able to repeat what you just did. But if you're a creator and you always create, you will create better work than what you have in front of you now. And so the mistake is to go in thinking that this launch is the be-all, end-all and not see it as a stepping stone to the next thing. What this boils down to is not focusing on creating a series of manageable launches that piggyback off each other long-term. We're in this for long-term careers, not for short-term. You don't need one launch to cash out to make $40 billion to go and sit and go head over down and hang out with Kevin in Trinidad and then travel the world you need a series of launches to piggyback, to turn the little bit of attention currency that you have at the moment and turn that into a bit more, into a bit more, into a bit more, into a lot more over time. So we need to be piggybacking. The most important piece of launching is know what the number one objective is for the next launch, build a strategy towards that, that points then to the next launch and the next launch. Now, launching is a big topic, and we're not here to talk about how to do a successful launch. One day I'll come here and I'll say, here are 10 launch models, take your pick. But before we go and do that, before we even think about doing a launch model, we need to know what our number one objective is, and we need to set the foundations. And this is one big piece here, is you need to know what you want your next launch to achieve, and you need to pick one thing. Remember earlier I said you need to build one thing first? I want you to think about, if you've got a launch coming up in the next 12 months, what's the one outcome that you would like to make? You need to figure out what that is first. Hint, it's probably linked to your why, and it's probably linked to your creativity, as in the things that your strengths are. And it's probably heavy on that first. And then you're probably putting marketing tactics underneath to help boost it. But first up, you need to know what your objective is before you even start putting together a launch plan.
So I have to say, I am really sorry about the slides, guys. The thing is, I was so enthralled with what Steve was saying, and I'm like ready, and I'm like, oh, did his sound go out? Like, what's, like, I'm just waiting for him. And I'm like, oh, right. No, I'm controlling the slides. Got it. So, and now I'm going to tell you how to have a healthy mindset and pay attention. So, yeah, no, this is great. And I think that's such an important thing, because I'm definitely somebody that is always like, oh, I have to launch this. But it really is just breaking things down. It's no different than time management. When you break down your tasks, I love what Steve said about breaking them into little micro launches. That's really just baby steps, guys. It's all about the baby steps. So here's how we create it. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, if you have the mindset behind launching before you go do it, it actually starts to become fun.
Yes.
Which is a freaking, I wouldn't have thought that a few years ago.
I know. I'd be like, you're high. What are you talking about? But it's possible, you guys, and you don't need opiates for it. So maintaining a healthy mindset in all of this is that the most common missteps in self-care, and that's like what I just talk about all the time. This is my soapbox moment, is that self-care, people avoid it altogether, which just, I want to say that it blows my mind, but I get it. I totally get it. And it wasn't until a few years ago that I literally had to see a different way to approach things, because I was the queen of multitasking, queen of staying up. You know, I think the longest time was like 40 hours with no sleep. And I don't even know if that, like, how you're a human being at that point. So, you know, it becomes this whole like sleeping and, you know, eating right and seeing friends. Like, it's not just about naps, guys. Like, self-care is about maintaining your relationships, going out, seeing your friends, spending time with your family. But we tend to do, well, if there's time for that, or, you know, when I get this done. So thinking for short-term fixes, like, oh, I need more time, I'm just not going to sleep or eat anything until I get this done. And then we neglect long-term results. So yeah, you might get that one project done, but then you're sick for 3 days. So, you know, long-term, you actually ended up a domino effect is happening, and you're creating more work for yourself than you needed to. So what it usually boils down to is understanding the role of self-care. And like Steve had just said, the mental prep, how that serves you in reaching your goal. When you're about to launch something, if you're not, you know, taking time to meditate or breathe deeply or just go for a walk or, you know, just sit there and visualize what you want from it. Just simple visualization exercises to make sure that you're ready for this. A lot of the times things don't happen and launches don't happen the way we want to because we're not mentally ready. So slowing down to see the bigger picture in order to make a more informed and purposeful decision. Like we said throughout this entire night, you want to make purposeful decisions. And this always goes down to the oxygen mask principle. I pretty much say this on every webinar that I have. When those masks come down in an airplane, they always tell you put yours on first before you help out anybody else, even if it's a small child. Because if you start grasping for air and get dizzy or whatever, you can't help anybody else. And that that goes across everything in our lives. It's just not for when we fly. It's if you're not taking care of yourself, then you can't be of service to other people. So if you find that you're getting in this whole like, oh, I want to sleep or I want to take time off, but I can't because I gotta make the show really count. Well, then flip that. Yes, I want to make the show really count. So I have to show up fully charged and ready to go. So that's when, this goes back to what I was saying about priorities, figuring out what is really urgent. Listen to your body. Our bodies tell us so much every single day, and we neglect. And it's almost like a little toddler where we ignore it and we say, yeah, okay, I know I should be eating right now, but I'm not. And I'm just going to work through my lunch break. But all of a sudden now, a couple hours later, we're like dying of hunger. We're nasty to everybody. We're hangry, right? And it's like, oh, yeah, I knew I should have eaten before, but I didn't because I was ignoring myself. Well, that's when the toddler is throwing its enormous tantrum because we're not paying attention. So finding that balance. A couple of things I want you to keep in mind is that realizing that what you need in order to provide what others need will enable you to recognize better priorities. So if you're somebody that always puts others first, you can still do that, but realize that putting others first means being good to yourself so you can put them first. So you're not always going to find that balance, right? I've pulled the all-nighters before. I know Steve has, and yeah, it's not perfect, right? It doesn't mean we're never going to skip lunch or forget to exercise or cancel on somebody because we got to sit and finish work, right? Of course that's going to happen. But knowing what we're aiming for, the ideal is, and what that can look like will improve your aim. So, I grew up in the music industry. 15 years ago, I started at the major labels, and it was constantly this hustle, this 24/7 sleep when you're dead mentality. And so it took me years to let go of that. And the thing is, if we don't know what balance can look like, if we don't already set out for ourselves what that ideal is, then all we know is the burnout. All we know is the hustle. So that's what we do because it's familiar to us. So you want to get familiar with how you can be and how life can be for you. And if you hit it, great. If you don't, that's okay. But it's all about acknowledgement, not judgment. Acknowledge like, okay, I didn't sleep as long as I wanted to, or, oh, okay, I didn't keep within my time blocks the way I wanted to, but all right, noted, and I'm going to improve upon that. So just making sure that, you're not beating yourself up. This is how you keep the healthy mindset, is that you're sticking to what feels good for you and what you know is ideal, and not beating yourself up when you fall a little short.
So true, and amazing reminders there. And so we sort of get to the last foundation here, and I know for me it's the one that I see the most. And so everything we've talked about here are essentially there's a lot of mindset changes that go into that really change the way that we do everything. And this is the biggest one. And this is the most crushing one, because we can get out there and we can learn everything. And then we go, well, when is it time? And so what this last piece is all about is giving yourself permission to actually get started. Now, the most common missteps in how to actually start finally leveling up what you're doing, the first one is a crushing one. And I see this all too often. The worst times, the ones when it crushes me the most, is when it's private clients and we've spent quite a bit of time and they're investing money into what they're doing, and they come and say, Steve, what do you think about this? And they start asking all these questions, and we're going off track. And I start realizing very quickly that they're asking all these questions because they're scared to start on the thing that they're focusing on, and they want to feel like they're being productive with me, but they're actually diverting their own attention. They're distracting themselves just so they don't have to do the uncomfortable thing of getting started. I see this with people I work with, and luckily I can kick them into gear and say, you have to start now. And yes, you have permission to do it, and you have permission to do it small, and you have to go. In the community, in the bigger community, it's a little bit harder. There's people I have a bit of an affinity with, and I get to sort of, point them in the right direction. And there's people that have never spoken up. And I know that there's so many people out there who I've never heard of who are simply just not allowing themselves to get started. The simple and most practical way to start is to just start. It doesn't happen enough. The only thing worse than the fallacy of sunk costs is the fallacy of sunk time, which I sort of got into just a moment ago. And that is a really, really important one, because I see so many people spend so much time in something that they allow that to be the thing that has to become perfect before they actually get their thing out there. I find this a particularly hard one. I love having my stuff perfect, as Suze knows. Like, let's get everything perfect before we go and do it. And sometimes you just gotta go, you know what? If I keep spending more time on this, am I getting a better return? Am I getting more results? Am I starting to grow the tribe that I want? Am I starting to grow the career that I want? Almost definitely not. And the final one, not letting your message fuel day one. So this all comes full circle right here. And I want to just come back to the first piece that Suze talked about. You need to get clear on your message. And, like right there is the thing that underpins everything that we've talked about. I talked about how that becomes your marketing, but right here, there's something more than that. It's also the fuel to your fire. If you deeply know your why every single day, and you have a way and a system and some strategies behind that to keep refining your why and to keep go. So I re-explore my why constantly. I find it fascinating when people are like, I find my why, done. It's like, it's not really the case. We're human beings. We evolve. Our missions, our purpose, our dreams, our desires change. And so we need to have a way to quickly come back and find that why quickly. And remember that this is the fuel to your fire. So if you don't know how to start, the simplest way is either go do it, or basically find your why, refine your why, find that passion. What I often say is you need to fall in love with your audience again. You need to fall in love with your creativity again. You need to go and find your why and let that be the fuel to your fire. What all this boils down to is thinking that the longer you wait, the bigger the achievement needs to be. This is a massive one. So often we just don't get started because it's taken so long to get to this point. But I just want to remind you that you're an artist, and you've already spent way more time on one particular craft than most people ever will in their entire lives. And right there is your ticket to basically say, and it wasn't a quick process. Sure, you may have got pretty good at something in the first couple of years. Absolutely. But becoming an amazing songwriter, all this stuff doesn't happen overnight. And so why would we assume that the rest of our careers will happen in the same amount of time? You have the guts and the resilience and the persistence to go and get out there. But what you don't need to do, and what you absolutely can't do, is assume that your launches, your career strategy, your marketing, all the hats you have to juggle, all of the stuff that we're talking about here is changing what's deeply ingrained in you and the way that you operate. We're talking about leveling up your EQ here so that you can do all of this stuff for the long haul, because it does get easier. Every piece of what we talked about today does get easier the more that you expose yourself to it. I've lived through that. I've seen other people go through it, and what we can't do, the only thing that we can't do is sit there and assume that if we've spent X amount of time on making an amazing record, that we should spend X amount of time before just getting started, because you will get way more by not waiting, by just going. Every single day must be seen as day one. And no matter how you start, just make sure you stack the odds in your favor. And so what that means is lay the foundations first. I know I'm saying here, there's a little bit of there's a push-pull here because it's different in everybody's situation. But there's this little bit that's like, just get started. But there's this other little bit that's like, if you get started, if you try and do too much too soon, you'll trip up. And so you need to find balance. So stacking the odds in your favor is about going, what can I start on today? And starting the process, but not trying to do everything at once. And so stacking the odds in your favor is very much about nailing all the things that we talked about today, having them ingrained enough that you feel you understand how they all work together. And once you've got those foundations, every other decision you make, every other thing that you give to somebody else as a team member, everything else that you do later on starts getting easier. And the only way to handle this long term and to have fun in the process is to make sure you have these foundations in place before you get started, knowing that you won't have all of them ready. You'll have them just enough, and you'll be looking to strengthen them as you go. And that's how you start stacking the odds in your favor, so that when you go and do the marketing tactics, it starts working, because DIY does not equal do it alone. We cannot go out there and spend the rest of our time just trying to launch like a label and trying to do everything ourselves without nailing our foundations, without nailing our mindset and our approaches. It's freaking hard. And we need to, and we need to be able to, when we do start building a team, no matter what that team is at the beginning, sometimes you just need extra voices of support behind you. And sometimes you need people on the ground working, and everything has its place and its time. But we need to have that support team to cure this entrepreneurial loneliness. As Sue said before, we're all entrepreneurs, and it's friggin' lonely when you're doing it alone. And you do end up on this roller coaster ride that Sue's sort of talking about before. We need to make sure that we are casting our indecision to the side, and we do that by having other people around us. Sometimes, like I said, sometimes it's people there helping, being actually on your team. But if you can't manage like the oxygen mask principle, you can't manage you can't have other people managing your own career until you're able to manage yourself. And so we need to have people around us to help us cast indecision to the side. And we need to get a daily boost by helping others around us and also being ready to ask for help. There's a lot of stuff that we talked about today that you might go, I've got this down enough. But if you're here right now and you've been through this to the end, there's an enormous chance that any number of these things could be strengthened. If anything didn't feel like you are doing it every single day and it's just coming naturally to you, then there's probably a chance that you need to be ready to say, I could do some help on this. Because there's nobody out there. There's not much. There's a lot of stuff out there saying you need to get a better mindset, but there's not a lot of stuff saying here's how you actually build up your street smarts. And that's what we're talking about here. We get a lot of that from from helping other people, and also saying, hey, I need some help. Other people benefit from helping us because they get little boosts of oxytocin, and they start feeling better and more productive and more on top of their roller coaster. And we need to be supporting each other. And so I just say all this because how to start, and then moving into what that looks like for you practically, having a classical support team might not be where you're at right now. It might be. Having a support team is great, but until you're ready to really manage things yourself, there are other support teams out there. And that's what all this is about today. This is about you being ready to support your career from within.
Am I taking this one? All right. So I am literally the worst slide manager ever. So let's recap, guys. Thank you. If you're still with us, let us know in the chat boxes. Let us know what's been your biggest takeaway so far, because I'm about to recap everything that we've gone over tonight. So yes, there will be a replay. I know Chrysanthi had a bounce. She'll be able to catch the replay. If you guys have questions, start posting them in the chat box. We will get to them very, very soon. And here are the 8 steps that we've gone over. We want to find a clear message. We want to market around that message. Just like Steve just said, we want to ask for what we need help with. We want to ask for feedback. We want to ask for support. We want to manage the attention bank. Remember that the most important and finite currency is not money, it's attention. Then you want to prioritize your focus and manage your time. Create purposeful launching. Maintain a healthy mindset while you do it all. And as Steve just wrapped up for us wonderfully, say goodbye to excuses, AKA get off your arse and get it done. So what you're doing, why it might not be working, is that you lack clarity in your vision, or you lack the support and structure that Steve was just mentioning, and maybe even lack the confidence in your own awesomeness, because we all have things to offer. And I know that if you're here with us tonight, you're pretty awesome, because that means either Steve or I know you, and we only know awesome people. So that is just clear already. But you have to realize that, and you have to figure out how to get other people to realize it as well. So if you're still here with us, and we thank you so much for joining us for this full hour, is that you understand the steps, but you want to go a little bit deeper into the things that we've been talking about. You want to start small enough to figure out the next steps on your own. I'm sorry, you're smart enough to figure out the next steps on your own, but you prefer to know the best way of how to implement them on a daily basis. And you love hanging out with us. I can see that. But you know you'll get more from spending time with others like yourself in the trenches, rocking it all the way home. And I'll let Steve take it from here.
So essentially what we spent a whole bunch of time on this year is working out all the things that we've worked on with our private clients over the last number of years. I believe last few years with Sue's, last 5 years for me. Collectively we have tens of thousands of hours of coaching time underneath us, which is a pretty rare thing in the music industry. People are actually happy to spend time with other artists working on all kinds of different pieces of their music career. Now, the thing that we find is if at any one time you have a strategy without clarity, you get stuck. And if any time you have clarity without a strategy, you don't know how to move forward. And so we think it's time that we pull both of these things together. And this is sort of where we're here. I spend most of my days talking about strategy with artists and how they can actually pull the strategy often out of thin air. And Sue spends her days helping them find clarity. And so we've pulled these things these two things together because we think it's time your strategy actually had some clarity about the big picture, about the vision, about it's like I was sort of saying before, I can have my strategy there. I can have my launch strategy there. I can have my attention currency in place. But if I forget to take care of myself, then everything falls to pieces. And it goes the other way. Your clarity also has to have strategy, because if you know the big picture vision, but you don't actually know how to make some simple stepping stones to get there, then you start doing something worse than anything, which is taking this awesome understanding you have about where you're going with your career, and then you start taking some steps and you bite off more than you can chew, and you ask the wrong way, and you get back and you think that your clarity was wrong at the beginning. You think you were doing the wrong thing, but actually you just didn't have the strategy in place. And so we know that you need to have clarity and you need to have strategy at the same time to work together, so you can stop being busy and start being actually productive. Not productive like, yeah, I'm busy, like Suze was saying before, and I've got so much on my plate, but like I'm actually productive working on things that are going to help, and things that are going to help in the short term to build foundations for the long term. Because I know we all want the end result. We all want the millions of fans, or however many fans you want for your career. And we want to be sustainable artists. Maybe we don't need to be like the Biebs of the world, but we want to be able to make our art. And so that all boils down to the one thing that these things all sort of come together to do, which is actual productive time, where we're actually spending time on the right things, and we're not getting overwhelmed by doing way too much at once. And we're essentially coming together, and your conversations start to change when people say, hey, what's been happening? And instead of saying, whoa, so much is going on, you say, I've been working on this. And that is the difference. Now, Susan's worked with some amazing people, and we've got, is it Monty or Monte?
Yeah.
Yep. The holistic coaching style not only helped me narrow my goals and path for my music, but the practical decision-making skills improved my life as a whole outside of music. I will definitely use Suze again and recommend her to other artists. We're talking specifically about finding clarity in your work right here, and there's nothing more important. Now, we're here to talk to you about what we've put together, and we're pretty damn excited to it. It's called Clarity Meets Strategy, and we've basically pulled together all the different pieces of what we do with our private clients, and we've put it into an interactive video course. And when I say an interactive video course, we don't feel like this is a sort of course that you're going to go through module by module and then go, great, I know this now. It's basically the simplest way to have a rock star team behind you, to have some strategy behind you, to have my voice behind you, to have Suze behind you when you need it most, knowing that you can go through the first time and start implementing and graining things in the way that you operate. And then any other time you need it, there are modules there that you can go back to, and they start looking different. I mean, I know both of us have learned so much from each other just building out this thing, even though, you know, like Suze helps her clients with strategy and I help my clients with clarity. Yet we've learned so much from each other, just going and revisiting stuff that we've done over and over again. You can literally never stop strengthening this thing that we're here to talk to you about. And we're delivering it in 8 video missions. So each time there's a mission, there's a few different easy to digest modules and activities to do to basically start leveling up your EQ, because we think you're smart. We think you know most of what needs to happen. You just need to change the way that you're doing it to start getting more results. We want to make sure that you've got the workbooks to stay in track. And we're also putting together a private Facebook group where we can be there with you for support. So this is basically taking the best things of our one-on-one coaching and putting it into a scalable, interactive resource that can be there for you 24/7. Because I can tell you, if you're a private client, I'm not there 24/7. This is here so that you can get confidence in who you are as an artist and where you're headed, so you can get clarity in who your fans are and how to win them over. And this is so you can get motivation to act on the things, to actually get started, to act on the things that you know can take your career to the next level. And you know, we really put this together not as a thing that's going to be like another 360-degree course that is going to cover all aspects of the music business. There's enough of that. And we haven't put it together a focused course on how to turn Facebook ads into an audience. There's enough of that. There's plenty of that out there. But you're artists. You need to be able to pick and choose the right things on a daily basis. Sometimes you need to make decisions quickly about what you're doing creatively, about your productivity. And sometimes you need to be able to do it about your marketing and your mission. And you need these things to be able to consume those other courses, or to be going into the recording studio and making the right decisions about the social media you need to do that day. Everything underneath all this is the clarity and the strategy that underpins every piece of learning and action and strategy that you put in, whether you're by yourself or with others. And so this is we're literally just wrapping it up as we're putting this together for you. And this is the first time that we've ever basically invited a small handful of our tribes in. I mean, you can pop in my tribe and you'll see most people don't even know about it. This is a very small, this is the first little kind of small group. We've invited you here because we think you'd be a great fit to actually come along for the first kind of run through. We want to run through it and be ready, be there to hear how you're going through it and improve the product and the experience and really make this the best 24/7 coaching resource for the music industry, bar none. So we've taken the best of both of us and we put them into one actionable resource that you can do, and you're never going to get at this price before. And welcome to positive reinforcement.
Absolutely. And guys, if you want to learn more about what we're talking about, on the page that you're on right now, if you just scroll down, you'll see a button to learn more about this offer. So if you want to do that, or if you're in your workbook, you can find it there too. So Steve is absolutely right. We did not announce this really to anybody outside of our newsletter subscription guests. So if you heard about it, it was probably one of our emails. So, you know, in case you didn't know me, Steve had introduced you to one of my clients. And in case you don't know Steve, you should, because his work is unbelievable. And D. Grant Smith, I'm sure a lot of you know him, especially if you're in the Music Launch Hub community. He's always offering superb advice, and he gets his advice from Steve. He had said about Steve that he has been transformational. Steve gave me the vision, clarity, direction, and a process to reach my goals, plus a launch strategy that has transformed how I release my work. My credibility, brand, and impact in music as a go-to person has exploded exponentially ever since. So, I mean, if there was ever a, you know, penultimate, you know, thing here to prove that, you know, Steve is somebody that knows what he's doing, this is it. And to get that from D. Grant Smith is wonderful, because if you've checked out his work, it's also exceptional. And he goes to Steve when he needs guidance. So that says volumes.
So who this is for musicians and managers. And that's why we wanted you to see that we work with industry folks, and we work with artists, and we work with artists at different levels and industry people at different levels. Sometimes they've had decade-long careers, and sometimes they're just starting out. The thing that you need to know is that no matter which one of these you are, you're a musicpreneur. And that's essentially every single one of us here is somebody that needs to be, if you want to future-proof what you're doing, you need to be ready to turn everything that you're passionate about and what you're great at and turn that into a full-time career for the long run. This is here for music professionals who want their career to be more sustainable. And when I say music professionals, I literally mean independent musicians. You're a music professional. And this is for multi-passionates who want to find the time to do it all. If you're like both of us and you have all kinds of different passions flying along at once, we've put this together so that you can start focusing on creating those structured, leveraged launches that will allow you to do the multiple things that you are great at over time. This is not for, and it's okay if this is you, if you're currently enrolled in one or more, and enrolled on the shelf doesn't necessarily mean enroll, I think, in my mind. If you've shelved a course to come back to it later, understandable. I know I do that sometimes. But if you're enrolled and actually partaking in more than one music success course at the moment, I say music success because there's all kinds of things out there. Sometimes they're 360-degree programs. Sometimes they're very focused. If you're doing more than one of these at this right time right now, we probably don't think this is for you. Now I will say, if you're going through one course at the moment and you do have some extra time and you want to make sure you're getting the most out of that course, this could be useful for you because we've built this to underpin every other course out there. We think this is like recommended knowledge, recommended understanding before you go and do any learning. And that's from someone who, I went and did a 3-year music business degree. Freaking waste of time. I would say I should have learned all this stuff before I went and made the decision to go and do that 3-year degree. So one course at the moment, but if it's more than that, maybe not for you right now. Now, if you're someone who adopts the hustle and grind 24/7 mentality, we need you to know that we're not going to give you a magic bullet straight up with this. You need to rock in and be ready to take a breath, put some stuff on the table, and only pick up things that are going to be useful for you. And we need you to be ready to be patient through the process. And I promise it'll mean we get there faster. But if you just want to hustle and grind and go and spend, most of your day, 16-hour days spamming your audience, then this is probably not for you. And finally, anyone who isn't looking to embrace the business side of your music passion, maybe go out there and hope for the best, putting out great content. If you're not interested in doing the business side of things, then look, your best bet is honestly write great music and put it out and hope to freaking God that somebody finds it in the long run, although it's going to be a hard one. But if you're not ready to embrace a lot of the things we're talking about today, it's probably not going to be the right thing for you. This is going to be a very focused and, this is something we've never offered before, like our personal care in this sort of form. It's going to be very special, especially with the first lot that are coming through. So we want to know that you're going to be there and to show up, and we know that you being around us and around the others in there is going to be as you showing up is more important than anything.
And I just want to say real quickly that it's not often that you hear people talking about products or services and they're like, and here's who it's not for. But it's important that we did that because just like you do with your fans, you want to be able to find the right people that are for your services. And so, I don't think there's any shame in the game of turning people away. If they're not right for it, they're not right for it. So just also keep that in mind when you guys are out selling your stuff, that it's okay to turn people away. And I just want to say real quick that Steve from Virginia had posted something that just on this matter, that when people friend request him, he kind of thinks in his head first, could this be a potential follower of my tribe, before clicking an accept from them? And he wanted to know if that's shallow. And honestly, I think it's a good thing because, again, your energy and attention is finite. So if you're connecting with people and you can tell already that, listen, they're not for me, they're not going to get on board with what I'm doing, then in my opinion, there's no reason to, focus it elsewhere. So I just wanted to answer Steve real quick since he posted in the chat box. But
great question. Can I add in just like on top of that, super quick for Steve? This is a mindset shift there. It's not a shallow thing at all, but it can come across the wrong way if you're seeing it the wrong way, because it's and to you guys that know me, I don't get woo woo on this like manifesting stuff or any of that. Like but I really think it's weird because it starts to cross lines, but I really think how you see yourself in the world really changes the way that you communicate. And this is like a direct correlation here to your mindset. So if you're out there feeling a little bit shallow, then you're approaching things the wrong way, because it means you're saying something about what that might mean to yourself. What I'm getting at here is what you want to be saying is, if you're building a tribe, then that's what you're about. Some people are going to fit in, others aren't, like Suze just said then. And you need to be going and basically saying, this is what I'm doing. The more that you actually turn up the volume on the tribe that you're building and how you're doing it, you'll start not having to ask or even feel bad for not accepting. You just say, this is where I'm going. The train's leaving the station. And if you're somebody that fits along, come on for the ride. If not, I'm going this way. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I think you need to change your mindset in the way that you approach people, because it can start ingraining the wrong things inside your brain.
Absolutely. And so I'll let you get back into it. I didn't mean to interrupt you there. You're on a flow. So I'll let you finish this out here.
Well, I'd love more questions. I'm always in this for Q&A. So if anybody else has any more questions, it doesn't have to be about this program. It can be about absolutely anything you want.
We're here to serve you guys. So if something pops up for you and it's off topic, that's totally cool.
Throw it in. Now, the main thing to keep in mind this is the first time we're doing this, and this is the first we're opening this up to like founding members. And it's we're just letting in a very small cohort at the beginning, because we want to perfect things before we actually go and broadcast this publicly. We want to make sure everything's in place, nothing's broken. And as we're sort of piecing it together at the moment. So we're just having the first intake right now. It's going to be open until Sunday at midnight. So you've got a few days to decide if this is for you. Now, if you are a first mover and you like bonuses, we do like to reward people who like to jump the hell on board the train that is leaving the station. And we're going to give you a couple of bonuses. One, you can get access to My Vault in the Music Launch Hub, and that's 10 hours of supplementary training, not available anywhere else. The only people that get that are my VIPs, people who have been around on my private clients, and a few other people who buy stuff from me get access to this resource. There's all kinds of amazing stuff on launching in all kinds of different ways in there. And I also test out new content and put it in there before anybody else gets it. You get lifetime access to that. It's often updated. And you'll also get Copyright Like a Rockstar, which is Suze's amazing video course, which is complete with a screen-by-screen tutorial on how to submit your work. This is the stuff that you need to do to underpin your music. So if you don't understand copywriting, this is an amazing gift that Suze is giving you. We basically want to make sure that you have these resources, not as something you have to do today, but you have these resources at your fingertips. So when you feel like you've nailed all the stuff we've talked about here, you can go and then say, all right, what's the next resource I need? We want to make sure you get literally most of what you need to really start. And so that's why we're throwing that stuff in. So first movers, jump on that. Some more beautiful words about working with Suze has saved me time, money, and frustration. And if there wasn't a more powerful combo than those three things, this is from Vertigo, the producer, singer, songwriter. Working with Suze has been exactly what I needed to help me focus and develop a clear path to my goals. Her knowledge and experience in different areas of the music business has saved me time, money, and frustration that would have been spent on figuring things out on my own via trial and error. I can tell you personally how much time I have thrown in the bin, a lot more than $21 of Facebook ads in the bin, by trial and error and figuring stuff out. And sometimes it's just so much cheaper and faster. This is me talking now. This is not the testimonial. I'm agreeing with Vertigo here. My goodness. Just embodying how much time I have wasted by trying to stay in my own silo and not seeking the help that has been put in front of me. To finish off Vertigo here, I'm getting everything I was hoping for, and I decided to work with her, and just such a beautiful testimonial I think there.
Well, I can't just leave you hanging because I need to throw some more love back at Steve. Dallas Frosca, am I pronouncing that right? Who's an artist. They wanted to say that they began gaining hundreds of followers every week. I mean, that's incredible because I mean this is Steve's wheelhouse. This is what he does. He connects people, he attracts audiences and builds communities. If you guys are not in the Music Launch Hub community, you need to be in it. It's one of the best groups on Facebook. I'm not even kidding you. And they had said that before working with Steve, our social presence was minimal in terms of usage, and our followers were growing in numbers way too slowly. We quickly began gaining hundreds of followers every week and had a better understanding of how to engage with our audience. Steve rules. I love that. He does. And if you couldn't tell already by tonight's presentation, there's so many mindset shifts that have already happened tonight. And Steve's got a lot more to share with us.
So where you could be in the near future, you could be touring globally like Dallas Fresca perhaps. But really what we want for you is we want the foundations to be in place. So you could be free from overwhelm and this endless to-do list that never gets shorter. We hope that you feel productive with a strong mindset for success and you know what you need to do daily without freaking out. And you'll have confidence in your ability to build your fan base and have the career you want. And we're going to make that all within reach. If you want to jump on board and be one of the first founding members of this, we'd be super excited to have you. If you're here still with us, then you will be a great fit and it will be amazing to have you in on this journey. We've made this insanely cheap. In fact, we just for this moment, we've both made it cheaper than individually our coaching time. And it's a once-off. You get lifetime access to us and the support community. You can go to musiclaunchers.com/CMS, or you can scroll to the bottom of this page and click the button. Go over. You can read more about it as well. Everything that's getting into it's all in great fine detail there. And you won't be charged until you actually choose to commit, but you can go over to that page. You can have a look, read through, spend a little time thinking if this is for you. But if you want the bonuses, you do have to join now while we're live on the call, or I believe the bonuses go when the price goes up. Bonus and discount goes away. So right now it's $197 US, insanely cheap for what we've put together here. This is an 8-week program. But not 8 weeks in that it's going to take stacks of your time. You're going to get way more time than you spend with us back. But we are going to drip this out over 8 weeks. And it's $197 at the moment with all the bonuses, with the hundreds and hundreds of dollars of bonuses up until Friday at 12 p.m. EST. And then the price is going up to $297 and the doors are closing up Sunday. So you basically have 48 hours to decide if you want to be one of the first founding members with us and to get the discount and the bonuses. And then we're going to be raising the price to $297 for the last couple of days. And that's just basically a way of saying, if you're interested, if you're thinking about this, we want to reward you for taking action. And if not, even the $297 is a crazy good deal. After that, this will be the cheapest this is ever offered. This is not open to the public yet. This is just for you guys. This is just for the cohort that we've decided to invite. And we want you to know that it'll be amazing to have you in there. We'll be so excited to see what hopefully have you up here as a success story when we start opening this up to the public.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't done Facebook ads for this. We have not told anybody beyond our email list. So, this really is it. It's a wonderful way to wrap up the rest of the new year and start off January on the right foot. And the thing that I think is great is that Steve and I have committed to being with you guys every step of the way. This is a self-paced course, but with the holidays and everything else going on, we know that it can feel, really overwhelming or, oh my God, I'm going to just start it but not finish it. But that's why we're here. That's why we're doing a private Facebook group with this. We're checking in with you. We're guiding you through every single module. You can go to the page, themusiclaunchers.com/CMS, and see we've broken out every single module that we will give you guys. And we're there to make sure that you're getting it done. We're there to help you when you get stuck, and we're there to cheer you on and get the stuff done so that you can start off January full throttle. Like we said, this was something we were going to release in the spring next year, but we thought, you know what? this is something that we're super excited about. We want people to take advantage of the end of the year time that they've got now and really make an impact for January. So Steve and I decided to release this early just to you guys, and nobody else knows about it. There's no other way to find this elsewhere. So if you've got questions and you want to take advantage of the bonuses between now and Friday, make sure you reach out to us. Ask us your questions. We'll be more than happy to answer them. Be in the chat box right now. Steve and I are here. We're here to answer your questions if you have any, whether it's about this course or something else. And yeah, I think if you take one thing away, it's that we're here. We are here for you. So let us know.
We're here, and we'll be here every step of the way through the journey. And it'll be great to have you. If you guys have questions, I know I can stick around for hours doing. We won't stick around for hours doing Q&A, yeah. But I would love to.
We're around.
No, absolutely not. But I'd love to hear some questions.
I know it sounds like we have no lives, but we do kind of.
Yes.
But no, we are here. If you guys have things that you want to go over, I loved Steve Grusko's question about vetting who you let in on Facebook. And that was such a great question. If you guys have anything else that, you do that you're not sure of, or you're thinking about implementing, but you're hesitant about it, I'm sure we've been there. We've had those thoughts. We've made mistakes. I'm sure there's nothing you can ask us that we've been like, never seen that before. So try us. I dare you.
Yet to get caught out on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, actually, no, I should change that. I've spent years thinking I'd get caught out on something one day, and then I'm like, you sort of start to realize you know more than you think you know.
Yeah.
You're like, and look, I'll say that it's for the same for you guys here who would maybe even be thinking about joining us on this thing. I know there's a lot of this stuff can be like, I think I know this, or you might have gone through things and been like, yeah, I think I've got that under control, or I've sort of got that in place. And that's almost definitely like all of these things in some form or another, we have some sort of understanding of. The question is, how is it serving you at the moment? And that's where we really, that's what we've sort of put this together to be something where you can be strengthening these foundations so that they're not just afterthoughts. They're not like the sort of thing that you get halfway through a launch and you're like, whoa, I just spent way too much time on tactics. I didn't really plan well enough. We want to make sure that when you go and do what you do, you're doing it the best you can. And that's what this is really about. Yeah, just throw that in there.
So you said, not sure if it's for me. My launch next year isn't really intended to make music full time, but I do want to have a wide reach. That's totally fine. It's, this doesn't have to be, and I'll let Steve address this too, but it doesn't have to be, making music full time. That does not have to be the goal. Whatever your goal is, that's what it is. If it's, I want to find balance with my music and my other passions, right? This is what this is for. It's launches don't have to be just for music releases. Launches can be for a whole slew of things. I mean, Steve, I'll let you take that from here, but it's more than just, oh, I want to do music full time. Whatever your goal is, this is built around making that happen. It's a jumping off. It's whatever your next thing is going to be. Set yourself up for the biggest success in whatever that goal is. Steve, I'll let you add to that.
Yeah, I think it's a mistake to assume that this is the sort of thing that is going to launch your career, in the sense of, we're not actually going to go through a full launch model in this. It's not what this is about. And so in that sense, the decision to do something like this shouldn't be predicated on, I don't have a launch yet, or I have a launch, I might not be ready to launch, or in fact, even just taking the launch off the table. Even though I'm talking about some strategies that will help you launch, I'm literally talking in my sections, I'm helping you with the things that will help you before you even start planning the launch. And so this absolutely, like Michelle's asked there, this is built for people who have been, working away at their careers for a long time, but it's also built for the person from day one. And I have clients that are in both situations. and across the board, you know, I have clients that are playing gigs constantly and they're touring the world, and I have clients that are literally trying to figure out their why, and sometimes we spend months talking about it. The whole reason this exists is so that you don't have to come and work with Suze or I and spend 6 months figuring out what your why is. You can come and revisit the videos when you need them so that you can get the foundations in place. So it is absolutely perfect for beginners. And it's not a course that's going to tell you how to launch everything. It's a course that's going to set yourself up to do everything that you do better. This is how to do life good, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's how to launch the life that you want. I mean, that really is what it's about. And Michelle, that was a great question. And so I'm just putting this slide back up here for who is this for? So really when we turn people away from this service, it's really just about, we want to make sure your mindset is in the right place. So really who it's not for is, like we had said before, if you're looking for a quick snap the finger fix, if you're looking to, as Steve said, think that you're just going to take one course and your career is, you know, exploding. That's not what this is for. But no matter where you are in your career, no matter what your end goal is, this is for getting your mind ready and getting structure in your everyday so that you're running things with confidence, you're living your life with purpose, and you're figuring out and making decisions that work for you, rather than just taking a course and being like, oh, this is what I should do, so this is what I'm going to do. Or, oh, this is the new trend, so this is what I'm going to do. Or, oh, this is the new channel I should be on, so let me go create a profile. You know, this is more about, like Steve had said, the foundation, this jumping off point, no matter where you're jumping off to. So if you're multi-passionate, like maybe Steve is in Virginia, where, you know, music won't be your full-time stuff, but you definitely want to grow your reach, definitely, you will definitely get things out of this course for sure. If you're just starting out like Michelle, this is perfect for you because you can do it right the first time and set yourself up. Like Steve had said, you know, we both went to school for music and learning all this stuff. It's like, if we took a course like this, we'd probably get through things a whole lot faster. So it's for the multi-passionates, it's for the music professionals, and it's also for the music newbies, as I call them. So yeah, it's all about, if you want to get your mind right and get structure and get focus and confidence, you're going to get a ton out of this.
Absolutely. And I think just building on that, I think it's like there's a lot of marketing courses out there. And if you sort of look at a course that's built around how to use Facebook ads to build up an audience and how to get your click rates down and ROI, your funnel campaigns. And if you're looking at that stuff and your head starts spinning, then this is the stuff to do before that. So we understand that there's a lot of people who want to go and step up, but understanding all of the different marketing stuff. I mean, I've been deep in learning marketing concepts for 6 or more years. And when I say deep, I've been learning it for longer than that. But that's me sitting and making a concerted effort to learn as much as I can. And I still see it's changing every minute of the day. There's more stuff changing now than ever. My head spins sometimes. This is here so that your head doesn't have to spin, so that you can basically look at all the stuff out there and say, you know what, maybe that's not for me right now. It's just so you can make better decisions about what you do in every point. And these are the things that will underpin how you go and get a virtual assistant to help you. There are decisions that you will naturally make off the back of things you do in this course that will be smarter and easier and simpler. You might not even realize it's the stuff you've gone through in the course, because we're talking about leveling up our street smarts here. And so I say all this because this is here so because a lot of people aren't ready to go and do all of the marketing straight away. And often that's actually the worst thing you can do, because that's when it's not gelling, when you only understand some pieces of the puzzle, that's when we start making bad decisions in the heat of the moment. This is to help you make good decisions in everything that you do for the rest of time. So, and just a side note, I'd love to hear from Steve and see what you are intending to do as well. I'd be super curious.
And I'm just trying, sorry if the screen is going crazy. I'm just trying to share the sales. Oh, here we go. So I just wanted to show you guys in case you're not on the page here. Woohoo. Steve looks like he's fallen into a thing. Screen's doing funky stuff. But anyways, so you guys should be able to see this now. Here's exactly what we'll cover in the course. I just wanted to go over the different modules that you can expect. So the first one, and you'll see they magically mirror the 8 steps we've gone over. So we're going to work on your message. I'm going to help you get clear and how to get clear on your message, how to refine it, how to make it make sense in attracting your particular fan base, how to find who your fan base is, and expand your professional network. It's not just about the fans. It's about other people in the industry who you want to collaborate with or work with. Then Steve's going to take you through your marketing, right? So just like everything he said today about your messages, your marketing. So he's going to show you how to implement that. So this is all the how. We've given you guys the 8 steps. These are the 8 missions that we're going to walk you through, how to get what you want. I'm going to go over exactly how to pitch something to somebody to get an answer every time. Like I said, it might still be a no, but you'll know what to do once they give you that no. You'll know how to follow up with them, how to get useful feedback, and how to have the confidence to ask for what you want and go after it. Then Steve will come back and he'll go over the attention currency. And this, like I said, is such a mind shift and such an important thing to really understand, that it helps to have somebody like Steve walk you through this and really help you make that transition to where you're not worried about asking for money and you're focused on attracting people's attention to what you're doing. Then we've got finding time. So like I talked about how to find your priorities. In this mission, I go really deep, and I even give a complete screenshot recording of how I time block my calendar. So you'll know exactly how I do it and what apps I use and how I break down things so that there's plenty of time for me to get done what I need to get done. And then we've got Steve showing you how to do those micro launches, what it means to really break something down and organize it and get it high impact with limited resources. And then, yes, you guessed it, I come back and then I teach you how to deal with obstacles. We do a lot of mindset exercises. We work on really getting confident and understanding that things aren't always going to feel pretty. Things are going to be messy, you guys. That's the journey. No matter where you are in life, no matter what you're pursuing, it's going to be messy. So I'm going to give you the tools you need to deal with that mess and to move on from that mess. And then how do you start? So Steve really ends us on a huge high note with how to get to that final stage and how to jump, make the leap, and do everything that you've spent this time preparing for. So I just wanted to walk you guys through, like, that's everything that's included. And it's $197. Like, that's less than what it takes to just book a session with us. Like, it's really absurdly affordable, and the value you're going to get is redonkulous. So I just wanted to go through that.
Through the roof. So hopefully that makes sense. If you guys have questions, there's a little chat box on that page. You can hit me up and I'll answer your questions anytime in the next couple of days. You could also email either of us if you want to ask. Obviously, you can see there that Susan and I are taking particular modules. Yeah, if you want to ask us particular things, just shoot us an email. Let us know what questions you have about any of the things and what you'll get out of it, and if it's a good fit for you. Hit me up there. And unless there's any other questions now, we can talk. This is an opportunity to talk about launching quickly or finding clarity, finding strategy, anything we've talked about today. As Sue said there, everything we talked about today is laying out what you need to do to have the foundations. And then if you want to go deeper, we can walk you through how to strengthen every single one of those and then how to turn that into an actionable plan. And look, we'd love to have you. And
there you go. You froze for a second. We're back.
Oh.
Yeah, awesome. I think that about wraps it up. I know Steve Grusko had to go in and tuck in his youngsters. So yeah, I know we're going on almost 2 hours here. Damn, where does the time go? But yeah, I think if you guys have any questions, if not, because I think we've kept you here long enough, we'll we'll wrap up. But as Steve said, we are here for you guys. So shoot us an email. I'll put our emails in the little chat box here. If you guys want to reach out and have any questions, if you'd rather talk about it privately, that is totally okay. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. And if you had to leave early, you're not hearing me right now, but I hope that you come back for the replay. So this video will be up as long as the offer is up. So you can come back and watch things up until Sunday at midnight Eastern Standard Time. And that's all I got. You got anything else?
That's all. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for hanging out to everybody here. And thanks, Suze, for hanging out. It's been heaps of fun.
Yeah. I'm so happy. Like, I've been wanting to like collaborate with Steve for such a long time, and I'm like so excited this is finally happening. So
likewise. Super exciting. Just the beginning. Yeah. It's been fun today. I know thanks, Michelle. Hope you had fun. And do hit us up if you have any questions after this. Oh man, I think it's time. I gotta go and get some lunch.
Nice. I'm gonna go get some dinner. So okay. We'll see you guys later. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll talk to you soon.
Ciao.